Okay, today we'll discuss about the push-down automator to context-free grammar, for which the conditions are it has to have a single final state and there should be a decrease or an increase in the stack content. So now the first question is, what if there is a retaining of the stack content? For example, if you have uh, only one variable on the output side, then what should we do? We should rewrite the transition in such a way there is an increase and a decrease. So for retaining, first transition will go for a decrease and the second transition will go for an increase. So how do I write it? Is we take the left hand side of such kind of transition, and the output would be a new state which is not part of the transition. Here it is Q3, followed by popping of the stack content, which is lambda. And now the next transition, we'll take the output of this new transition and make it as input, along with Z, the stack alphabet, and the output of the original transition Q0A with Z. So making an decrease and an increase in the stack content. Now we are supposed to convert into productions. While we convert it into productions, we have two types of transition: an increase and a decrease. First, we'll look at the decrease transitions, where we are supposed to define a variable and then the production. So we'll take the input state, the stack alphabet, the output state put together as a variable, and anything within round brackets is considered as a single variable which produces A. Similarly, here it is Q0 A and Q1, which produces the input state, input alphabet, which is B. Here it is Q1 Z Q2, which produces the input alphabet lambda. So whenever you have no stack content, whenever there is a decrease in stack content, we'll have only one terminal on the right hand side. But then if you have multiple uh, the content on which has to be pushed onto the stack, then you have to populate the variable, uh, populate the alternative, and then validate. So in case if I have a production QIAA, the output is QJ, and you have QK states in the PDA, we'll populate it in such a way it is QIAQK. So for all these states, what you have, QI A and QK. If you have Q0, Q1, Q2, we'll take it as uh, QI, QK, and then populate the alternatives. So what happens? One second. Okay, and then you populate the variable such as this A. Sorry, this A, which is as the input alphabet comes as the first character, then it is QJ with B and C, which ends with QK, and in between it is QEM. So if you have Q0, you will have Q0. The output of the first variable will act as the input of the second variable. Then we validate the production. So for example, if you have this particular transition, you will have Q0 Z Q0 Q0 Z, and then Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3 are the four variables what are being populated. The alternatives are A, this Q0 comes over here, and this Q0 goes to this place. In between, I have Q0, I have Q1 option, I have Q2 option, and the Q3 option. So that is how you populate it. So for the two transitions, we have around 8 variables. Now, what is validation of variables? Validation of variables is where now I have put all the way productions, whatever we have populated together, and all these three are valid. Normally, if you remember, we go in for an useless production. Try to identify what are all the useless production, for which you have to check. In this case, you check whether you have Q0 A Q0, which is defined on the left hand side. Q0 A Q0 is not defined among the productions, and wherever you have Q0 A Q0, that alternative stands invalid. So all these first transitions becomes invalid. What about Q0 A Q1? I have Q0 A Q1 over here. So let me check for the second variable Q1 Z Q0. I don't have anything on Q1 Z Q0. So that alternative becomes invalid. What about q naught a q2? We don't have any, and therefore this becomes invalid. Now here it is q naught a q3, you have it over here, and the next variable q3 z q naught, we have it over here, and therefore this becomes valid. So in this slide we have cancelled off all the invalid alternatives, and we have kept the valid alone, resulting in these number of transitions. So this is how you try to populate it and then validate it. You have a question here, you can just try it out.